We are building the Metro Map project from the YByte Python curriculum available at www.ybyte.in. Previously, we have seen how we can provide all these GUI elements. For example, draw this one line, have these drop down boxes where the user can select the start and stop stations, this button, and then a fare label. Of course, the expectation is that when I click this button, the fare should be computed based on these stations that have been provided, and it should be displayed here. But obviously right now nothing is happening because we have not yet built the functionality. Now we are going to build this functionality, but before that we have to understand how does the button work in Tkinter, and that's what is the focus of this video. We're going to see how the button works, and in this process we're going to take a slight detour and look at this very interesting statement called the pass statement, which is quite logical and just follows from here. So the way a button works is that I have to associate a button with a command, basically with a function. So I'm going to say, for example, command equals to, let's say, calculate fare. Now, right now it gives me an error because it does not know what a calculate fare means. What does it mean to say calculate fare? Well, I have to define a function just like a regular, Python function. So I go and say def, say calculate fare. Now this function does not take any arguments. I can just say, I define this function, and right now if I just leave it here, notice it's giving me an error on this line because remember at the end of this, at the end of the function definition, it's expecting me to do an indented statement, but right now it's not finding that. So one option for me is that, well, I define the entire function here or put some dummy lines, but the other option is that I can just put a pass statement. Now what does this mean? Well, pass is like a null statement which is basically completing this whole code. So it's like, there's no indentation error anymore because pass became part of the function, and everything else was, where the indentation was removed is not part of the function. So this works and my code can continue to work. So if I, let's say, run this code, notice that I'm able to run the code, the GUI comes up and I still click. Of course, nothing happens because the function that I'm calling is right now just a pass statement. Now you might wonder, what's the big deal? Why am I doing this? Can't I just leave a comment here and say that, okay, later I will add the code, and let's say I remove the pass statement. Now, in fact, this will cause a problem because remember, these comments are being ignored by the interpreter. So from the interpreter's point of view, I defined a function, but thereafter there was nothing indented here when I was expecting an indentation. In fact, if I run this code, I will run into an indentation error, as you can see right now. You can see it also by running the code. Pass statement, in fact, avoids this problem. Now, the value of pass is not just here. Let's take a slight detour and try to understand this in a bit more general setting. Let's say, I define a variable a equals to 10. I say if a greater than 10, let's say I want to do something if a greater than 10. Now, I do not want to put anything in if a greater than 10 right now. What I can do is to put a pass statement. Again, it prevents me from running into an error because there's no comment over there. So then maybe, say for example, then I can have else, and then maybe a is equal to a plus 1. Now the important point here is that this pass statement was a null statement which allowed me to still go on and not have any code in there, and that's the beauty of this. In our context, it's allowing me to write this code. Later on I come back and fill this code, but that's how the pass statement works. Quite useful because we'll run into this scenario in many situations. I hope this was interesting, this was useful. The important bit is that, for every button, we must specify a command that we'll run, which is a regular Python function. Of course, we'll come back in the next video to fill up this function and make it all working. If you like this way of learning by building activities, going through them step by step, look at our website because we have many such activities for you. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.